Good morning. It is Monday, November 7th. Kyle Mountsier is on assignment. I don't know, but that's what we're going to say. Michael Cirillo is filling in today. We're going to talk about hydrogen, Amazon, and restaurants copying dealers' pricing scheme. Schematic.
The people really want to know.
I don't like when you call things a scheme. Sounds so intentional.
Sounds so scheming.
Does sound so scheming. Well, it is a great week to be in retail automotive. Kyle's out, and so I got to pick my co-host, and the one person that was crazy enough to say yes was the one and only Michael Cirillo. Michael, it's good to spend some time with you this morning.
Well, as long as you get through the bottom, like that full list, and you hit the bottom of the barrel, you know Cirillo's going to come through.
Cirillo's always I'm like, all right, what are the top 10 people I want on my show? And then there's Cirillo.
And then Cirillo's number 11.
Oh, never. Actually, you were my first call, if that means anything.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Oh, God, it's always good to have you. Got a lot of things going on. We'll be on the road. Kyle and I will be on the road. Are you going? Where are you going this week? Are you going to Used Car Week?
No.
Are you going to MRC? You're staying in Texas, holding it down?
Yep.
I thought you were.
Yeah, it was one of those things. We just got back from 800%. You guys were there. And Whit and myself on my team, we were just kind of like, you know what? Our plate runneth over. And so we were just like, we're going to focus to the end of the year. And what's the point in getting new? I know this is the auto industry when, there's lots on the plate already that we could be focused on. So we're just going to hang out.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle and I will be running and gunning at Modern Retail Conference, formerly AAAS, Brian Pash's event in Palm Beach. So we'll try to bring you some fresh insights from there. We're going to miss you. We're probably going to dial Cirillo in anyway. So that's just how,
who knows?
It's just how we roll.
Maybe I'll just roll in like I did when you guys did your family reunion. And
you can,
Tampa.
and you're more than welcome to do
up.
that. We've got a lot of content that's been dropped. A couple podcasts in the dirt has been going really well, which is conversations that we've had when we're on the ground and in the dirt. Michael, you were a part of a lot of those at the 800% Club. And we also released a recent episode of the Auto Collabs podcast, which Michael has been a part of forming and is a co-host, and probably had one of the most fun episodes I've ever had when Kyle and I interviewed you about your beginnings. And we talked about everything from dial-up internet to the Statue of David to why you're in Texas now. So go check that out too. You can just search Auto Collabs or In the Dirt, or just go to ASOTU.com and all the podcasts are listed there. All right, we have some news to talk about today. There was one story that I almost put in here that I didn't, and it was about Ford dealers pushing back. Literally, that was the word in there. So that's not why I wore the pushback shirt today. But I was like, that has an important tone, but it has a little bit of a let's not start the week with conflict because there's enough conflict in the world. So instead, I started with this one. So here's first story. We expressed our optimism on this show about hydrogen many times, and our friends at Automotive News today released a great, and it's like a very lengthy and thorough article. I enjoyed it a lot reading it this morning on the history and promise of alternative fuel source hydrogen over the weekend as companies and experts weigh in on the broad investment in the technology and the blended approach to the replacement of fossil fuels. So here are a few points from that, and then we'll jam on it a little bit. It's finally happening, said Matt Thorington, engineer manager of fuel cells for global supplier Bosch, little company there, which said this year it will invest as much as $591 million in hydrogen production technology by the end of the decade. Then Kristen Ringland, global mobility analyst at Ernst & Young, another little company, said there are things that don't work well with batteries, and they're excited that hydrogen might fill those gaps. Another comment, we don't see this as an either or, said Rod Bora, program manager of Hydrogen Fuel Cell Tech Lab within the Los Alamos National Laboratory. He sees it as an and, not a both, not an either or, but an and. And check this out. In 2021, GM's $35 billion investment in a dual carbon emission reduction strategy includes what we hear a lot about, battery technology, but that investment also includes a lot of resources into hydrogen as well. Hyundai is developing fuel cell versions of its entire commercial lineup by 2028. So Hyundai's leaning in with the next gen system due next year, and it foresees fuel cell usage in trucks, trains, and maritime vessels. It makes a lot of sense. Toyota's doing a thing with BMW right now, anticipates releasing something as early as 2025. And, we know Toyota, they've been pretty much the most hesitant to go all in on the BEV craze. And Gil Pratt, chief scientist at Toyota Motor Corp and CEO of Toyota Research Institute said, we're very humble about this whole thing. We don't know. And the honest truth is, we don't think anyone else knows either. So there's a lot of talk, Michael. I mean, we've always talked about hydrogen. I've always looked at it with a sense of wonder and saying like, man, that seems a lot closer to the experience that we're used to.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever gotten your thoughts on hydrogen.
Here's my thoughts. What a novel idea. Like this boy Gil, he's my guy, right? And I think this is actually his comments fit well within the persona of Toyota. I mean, look at how they develop their engines. They find something, they pour tons of research into it, and then they find that thing that sticks, and they don't deviate from it too much. That's why they just
do it super well, right?
They just do it super well, and that's their reputation. Is they know that they found a thing, they're going to stick with it. So I love that he brings a little humanity into this, because really what's happening in the industry, like what this makes me think of, my overarching opinion about hydrogen, EV, ICE, whatever it is, this whole narrative reminds me that we're nothing more than a bunch of chirping birds. Like we don't actually know. And if we look at our history as human beings on planet Earth for thousands of years, things never end up the way that we think they will. So
despite a lot of chirping.
Despite a lot of chirping. And so while I love that investments are being made, I think the narrative could really, for now, suffice to be, hey, we're making investments to research this, to see if it's viable, to see if it's going to work long term, but also we might be flying hot air balloons one day again, like, as our main mode of transportation.
No,
so
that's
I
such a valid point.
It's it is humble, but it is a healthy, like there's still optimism. They're still making those advancements forward, but he is cautiously optimistic that, hey, like, who knows where this is going to go, and we should all be thinking that way.
There's one thing that comes to mind when you say that. You just look at what's happened with cryptocurrency in the last 24 months, right? You've watched that wave. And if you were to just listen to, now look, cryptocurrency, I believe, has a future. It has a functional future. However, that's a segment of it, when a lot of it was just a lot of chirping. And we've watched the pop culture momentum gain, and it rises it up and everyone talks about it. This is the next big thing. Like, we're going to put all our eggs in this basket. And then the chirping is pretty quiet right now, when we found out what the actual market demand for it is, the actual value that it plays in people's lives. So that's just the first thing that comes to mind. One thing that came out of this, some experts believe that hydrogen might be best suited in diesel applications. We've talked about, like a battery powered tractor, and how that just doesn't work because of the extended run times needed for commercial work, doing these high torque, in these high torque environments. And, one expert says, thinking about it in terms of maybe hydrogen is best suited to replace diesel applications, and maybe batteries best suited to replace gasoline applications. So that's another interesting take on, maybe because trucks, diesel applications generate a huge portion of greenhouse gas emissions that we just don't think about in our regular consumer lives, because we're not, on the boats and in the trucks and in the tractors and all of those things that are moving. And like, hey, you watch one of those things operate and just look what comes out of the exhaust pipe, and it looks a little different than what comes out of the automotive car exhaust pipe. And so, they did note in the article, one of the primary challenges is the same as batteries, right? Lack of refueling infrastructure. However, with hydrogen, it is a much more familiar experience, right? You go up to the pump, you connect the hose to your car, you watch the little dials go for 3 or 4 minutes, then you disconnect and you drive away with a full tank. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think hydrogen, there's a lot of, personally, I like the way a hydrogen engine sounds. I know that's like more of like an experiential thing.
Well, yeah.
Oh, they're awesome.
What does this sound?
It sounds cool. It sounds something between like a video game race car and an actual car. It sounds really cool. You should just search it up.
We're arriving at George.
No,
Jetson,
it doesn't say, no.
Me, George.
No, it sounds like you're getting something done when you lay down on a hydrogen engine. It sounds like it sounds like you're doing a thing. Well, speaking of doing a thing,
you know what? Like, I mean, the thing too that comes to my mind.
Once I hit the segue button, you can't say anything else. I'm just kidding. You can say it. The thing is too,
as we spoke through the whole segue button. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, how long before the hydrogen thing kicks off and that narrative, and we're going to start to chirp? I think the whole thing that I'm getting out of this as I read through the notes and we read the articles is we really don't know. So that's why I'm still kind of with my guy Gil Pratt here. I love the way Toyota approaches things. Gil? Did I say Jill or Gil?
No, you said Gil. You said Gil.
Okay, I said Gil.
No, it's Gil.
I love the way
you
that he's
got it.
approaching things. I love that the automakers are all making investments in this direction. I think it's healthy that we do this research. It's only 2022, almost 2023 for crying out loud. And so, to make those investments, I think, though the trend for me going on the backside of this conversation and this narrative moving into 2023 is I'm going to hear what they all have to say and still approach it with, I don't think it's going to end up the way that any of us think. And I would love to plug a hose into my car until, say like, poor little Greta gets on my case about using too much water. I don't know. So
poor little Greta. Wow. Or is it Dretta? I don't know. Jill, you're a GIF guy, not a GIF guy, right?
I'm a GIF guy.
Okay. I thought I could stereotype use that. I'm a GIF guy as well.
Yeah, I know.
All right, moving on.
But the founder says it's GIF, and I'm like, I don't care what the founder. Like, dude, we're allowed to come up with whatever we want. It's 2022.
Yeah.
It's GIF.
All right. Well, moving on. Amazon's fleet of Rivian delivery vehicles, EV delivery vehicles, have hit the milestone of 5 million packages delivered, as there are now over 1,000 vans in the fleet making deliveries on a regular basis. Amazon's full fleet consists of about 30,000 vans and also 20,000 shipping containers that you see on the back of tractor trailers, etc. Starting in July, the EVs rolled out in Baltimore, Chicago, Dallas, Nashville, San Diego, and Seattle. And then since then, they've been putting the service in a lot of new cities. There's like a list of like 20 cities here across the country. Now, the program was announced initially in 2019. And if you remember this, the goal was to purchase 100,000 vans from Rivian and have them on the road by 2024. But that's been adjusted to we'll have 100,000 on the road by year 2030, citing supply chain, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. Like all the other reasons that you can say we were way off. Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. 2024 and 2020.
Famous meatloaf last Sunday. Put the shoes on the wrong feet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit. But I think I haven't seen one of these in, let's see, there wouldn't be in Syracuse. They're usually all these are kind of major metros, right? Where they probably can stay close to the hub and they go through. But, this is kind of the fruition of a partnership. We're watching what Rivian does, obviously watching what Amazon does. And they have 1,000 vans. So, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where like they're doing a thing. I don't know that it's, a seismic change, but we'll kind of see. I mean, it seems to be working so far, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, well, like, again, this kind of piggybacks off of the previous segment. We have to try in order to figure it out. Like if we don't try something, then we're just going to stick in the same place. And so, kudos to them. They're making a partnership work. 1,000 vehicles doesn't sound like a lot when contrasted against 30,000 total, but it's a lot. That's a substantial investment from both sides of that equation to see if something works. And so, hey, can't knock the diligence and the commitment to try something.
And you would think like a delivery vehicle would be one where you'd probably get the most benefit, because think of how often those trucks have to stop and start and sit there. They call it in fleet management, they call it dwell time, where the vehicle's just sitting there and it's running. And you would think that, just the dwell time savings alone, like it seems like a vehicle like that would be really well suited for a battery, because it goes home every night, right? It charges while people are doing all their stuff, running from dogs and knocking on doors and all that, right? We're not burning gas while we're doing all that. So that's a good thing. And we'll see.
Yeah, no gas, no other consumables like oil, brake, like, all of the different fluids that have to go into it, the maintenance that goes along with such transmissions and all those sorts of things. I mean, there is potential upside here that they're going to be saving a ton in operational costs.
Well, speaking of potential of saving a ton in operational costs, it's really relevant, actually. It's nice. It's almost like we planned that. Restaurants, let's check this out. Restaurants are considering taking a page out of the dealer playbook, not your show dealer playbook, but generalized dealer playbook, by trying their hand at dynamic pricing due to the mass adoption of online ordering and digital menu systems. So this could include, get this, lowering prices during slow times to get people in the restaurant, maximizing the staff they have at the moment, or raising prices during peak demand times to maximize profit. So the low-hanging fruit here, this is from a Retail Wire article, the low-hanging fruit here is to use all that data to figure out when things are busy. How can I make more money from that Ashwin Kamlani, co-founder of Juicer, which is it's kind of like an online ordering platform, told the magazine Food on Demand. He said, if I own a pizzeria and I'm on a college campus and have a line out the door at 1 a.m. because all the kids have been partying, and are they really going to care that a pizza is now $11 instead of $10? Probably not, but that's 10% more I can make on every pizza, and that's a big deal. So proponents say this is going to work because consumers are accustomed to dynamic pricing, right? Market-based pricing elsewhere. Others said that maybe framing the pricing change as a discount, right? If you eat it during this time or order during this time, you get a discount versus an elevated, a premium. And some have reservations, like Tim Voss, CTO of Focus Brands. So they're the parent of Moe's Southwest Grill, right, Schlossky's, and other food service brands. They don't want to be in a situation where people are paying different prices at the same time. So, dealers have been, obviously, we know market-based pricing, a lot of fluctuation, and we've been having that conversation for quite some time, right? And even saying, like, in the automotive world, you can have a one price model and still be fluctuating prices on a daily basis, right? Because the market changes. That's different than negotiation or non-negotiation pricing. But I've never considered it for food. My first take is that I think it would work, actually.
Do you? I approached it with a healthy level of skepticism, because I was thinking, like, okay, I understand the marketing case. Like you said, the concept of the pizzeria and the college students, are they going to care if they're spending an extra dollar? Yeah, probably not in that isolated context. But if I'm like, hey, babe, you want to order in tonight? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to do it at 4 a.m., when the
that doesn't work.
$87.
Well,
so I guess it kind of depends. It depends on what market segment you're in and whether or not this is going to work. But I also wonder about the timing of this, especially when the conversation about inflation on food is so high. It's like, man, I already know I'm paying a little bit more when I order out, and now I'm paying even a little bit more on top of that. So I
maybe less,
a 78% markup on food,
or maybe less, or maybe less.
Yeah.
I do think it has merit. Not every circumstance. I think services like DoorDash, services like who's the one where you get the groceries from? I don't use it, so I can't remember.
Shipped.
Shipped. That's probably one of them. I can't remember. It's got a shopping cart.
Ordermyfood.com. I don't know.
Order my food from the grocery store.com.
Right.
It's really changed, even in like Costco, where the online price is different than the in-store price. And you never really know what the price was to begin with when you order from one of those delivery, because they mark it up by like 8% or 4%. And it covers the delivery fee, and then you don't see the delivery fee, but it's actually baked in there. I think in DoorDash as well, like all this has delivery fees. I think it's made it much more flexible than, back in the day, we were like $2.99 number 2 at McDonald's, which literally it was $2.99. You got 2 cheeseburgers, a medium fry, and a drink for $2.99. And that was like the staple forever. And so I think that there's room for like changing in there, but imagine if you just changed by like 10%. Right. So you have like a $5 or $6 value meal. It was $5.40, right? And now it's like $5.94 or whatever that is. Like, I don't think that'll make a big difference, especially if sometimes you can order it for $4.99. Well, I don't know.
Whoever, like, the thing is, it's like anything in business. Throw out the idea, put it into application. There will be somebody who uses it, and therein lies the business case. Like, they're not going to get everybody. It's not going to get the Cirillos at 4 a.m. eating tacos. That's the heartburn zone.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But somebody will. And that's all that really actually matters, is the people that will participate in it and order their food at dynamic pricing.
I think there's an opportunity for restaurants that are always booked to charge a premium for peak times, like a blanket premium, right? And then like, hey, if you want to eat at 6 or 7 p.m. on a Friday night at this restaurant, you're going to pay like a $40 premium to be able to book that. Right. That I think would drive people, like, maybe I'll eat at 4:30. If we want to go to the nice place, we'll go a little earlier or a little later. But the blanket statement is you have to start with customer experience and work backwards does it benefit the customer in some way? Does it not just make you more profit? Like, how can you tie that in? And I think we get into tricky situations in automotive as well when we do things just to maximize profit and we don't think about it and how is this going to benefit the customer experience on the other side. And it gets us on our heels. So I don't know. That's a little bit from across the retail world today, the hydrogen world today. Regardless, we have businesses to operate today. We have customers to serve. Think customer experience first, work your way backwards. And I think that formula will never leave us losing.